Good morning and welcome back to WKNI TV 25. Obviously, you see the great, wonderful State Representative Mike Jones Jr. with us on my left. And Mike, we're going to be talking about some food here, but welcome. Come on board.
Morning.
Appreciate it. We got Vinny's. We're running a little bit late, and you're running toe-tapping me saying, oh, I got to go to the dentist this morning and all that stuff. So we ain't going to talk about your dentist on TV.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. But we are going to talk about what happened at the chamber music the other night. Hi, we got Billy Joe. You know Billy Joe? Have you eaten up there yet?
I have. And Vince is my first cousin. I don't think I've eaten up at the Gant store yet.
Well, you know what, Billy Joe? Next time you see Vincent, you tell him that his first cousin won't even go up there and eat at his store.
He very rarely comes up around this way, probably.
Well, when I'm in session, I don't have as much time as I do when I'm out. But
yeah, well, you better get on up there and get you some tomato gravy. And
I actually love tomato gravy.
They make the best.
And it's homemade.
I even love homemade tomato gravy.
Well, we're going to make you hungry enough to where you may just delay that dentist there a little bit. Tell us what you got on the tomato gravy menu this morning, darling.
Okay, we have our hand-cut center pork loin for our pork chop biscuits. We have eggs done the way you want them. We also are making omelets if you call us in advance so that they'll be ready when you get here.
I didn't know you made omelets now. See, I just learned something.
And we have chicken tenders for chicken biscuits. We have salt pork. We have Kelly's sausage patties and links. We have ham, eggs to order, and grits, and homemade pepper gravy.
And all that
and bacon.
All that for how much?
You can get 2 eggs, grits, 1 meat, your biscuit, and a 16 or 12-ounce fountain drink for $3.49.
Mike, you can afford that.
And you can substitute your eggs and grits for a biscuit and gravy. And for lunch today, we have mini hamburger steaks with peppers, mushrooms, onions, and mushroom gravy, corn, tomatoes and okra, and our normal various fried chicken and fried green beans. And you can get that, 1 meat, 2 sides, any size fountain drink for $5.99.
So you can do lunch. You didn't even pay attention.
No, I was listening to the menu, but I was actually looking about a bill I got to present tomorrow.
Well, we definitely got him sidetracked over here, but anyway, Billy Joe, $5.99 for all that, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, and your hours?
Our hours are Monday through Saturday, 5:30 to 8 p.m., and Sunday, 6:30 to 8 p.m.
All right, do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
Do you know who State Representative Mike Jones Jr. is?
Yeah, I've met him before.
All right, when he comes in there, breakfast is on me.
Okay.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
All right. But you got to take a picture with your cell phone.
Okay.
We're going to put it on TV.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, darling. You have a great day.
Have a great day.
Have a good morning.
Bye-bye.
There. See, I got your breakfast hooked up.
Well, maybe after session when I have time to eat breakfast.
Were you at the gym at 3 o'clock?
I was going to. I ended up not.
I was going to say, because I went by the gym at 3:15 and you were not there.
No, I will be in the morning because I always go there about 3:30 in the morning before I go up on Tuesdays. But I intended to this morning, but lately sleep has been something I've been missing out on, so I've been trying to catch up whenever I could. So I tried to catch up this morning.
Dr. Rydell, Dr. Hubbard, he slept through the chamber music Friday night. I'm telling on him. I'm ratting him out.
Now, if I had attended as tired as I was, I might have done that, but I actually went home. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And guess who sat next to your mama?
I've heard.
Yeah. Guess who sat next to your mom? Yeah. Oh, man. Did she fill me in? Can you sing for us?
I'm not. I've still got at least a half a cup of coffee to go. So.
Is it true that you had a scholarship?
I attended college at LBW and Birmingham Southern on music scholarships.
Folks, hidden talents. Hidden talents.
That's not one of those things many people know about. But,
well, they do now. Dr. Rydell, a former student, now he's our state representative. See what happens when people go to LBW. So tell us about that a little bit. What kind of music?
No, I played trombone. I played jazz trombone. I
played trombone.
I was blessed. I could read music, but I could play by sound, and so it lent itself very well to playing with groups in college. And so I got a full ensemble scholarship to LBW, and
wow.
Played 2 years with the ensemble. Then I moved to Birmingham Southern College on a music scholarship as well, and played with their bands for a while. And it helped my family with paying for school, so it was always a good thing.
I know Dad and Mom felt good about that.
I'm sure that it helped their day.
I'm sure it did. You got a wonderful mom and great dad, and just fine folks over there. And I can't get him to come on and talk about ADC. You know what he told me? He said, Mike knows all about it. Ask him Monday morning. So you're here to talk about ADC this morning, believe it or not.
Well, I mean, you can't be in my family and not grow up in the business on some level, and most all the grandsons in the family at some point spent many years in the business, and I did as well. I drove trucks, stamped tobacco, pulled orders, night shifts, you name it. So,
well, I tell you, that's one of the places you never hear people complaining over there that work there. I mean,
they have a lot of long-term employees.
Yep.
ADC's always been a big believer in taking care of their employees, and I think that's been going for 60 years now. So
your dad told me how he started out with a little popcorn something other or something.
My grandfather started the business early on, and started out of a vehicle, and he worked for the Lance Cookie Company out of Georgia for years, and they gave him this region, and eventually he decided to go on his own, and it led to what's now Andalusia Distributing Company, ADC.
Wow. How many trucks do you think they got?
Oh, I can't even tell you that. They got quite a few.
They got a lot. You see them all over the place, all over Florida and Alabama, and I believe Mississippi and Georgia too.
I mean, that's one thing this community has been gifted with, is family businesses that have survived and kept going between Covenant Casket,
I was just fixing to
ADC.
say.
There's been a number of good long-term family businesses in the community, and the good about that is that family businesses do tend to take care of the employees in a good way. Because it's family-based. Anytime you have something family-based, you put more priority in families. That usually comes with it.
Now, who's the oldest family-owned company in this community? You or ADC or Covenant Casket?
It's probably, as far as total years in business, Covenant Casket and I can't remember the exact number, but I know they've been in business a long time. ADC was in the 50s, mid-50s that it went into business. But both are great businesses. Both have been contributing to this community for a long time, and I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Well, because I know you, Alan and Eddie, are pretty much in the same age group.
Well, they're a little older than me, but we've been close for many years. And our families are, we believe in a lot of the same things, so it tends to make you close when you believe in a lot of the same things.
Well, they're good folks over there too, and we appreciate them, what they do for the community as well as ADC. And folks, I am going to get Mike Sr. on here one day. One day I'll get him on here. But I think Mama will come first. She's proud of her son.
Well, trust me, if you get Mama on now, she'll talk to you about anything. She loves to have a conversation, and that's one reason I love my mother. And I probably get a lot of what I am from my mother.
She did bring something up.
Oh goodness, let's hear.
We'll leave that one for another day. Is that all right with you?
I don't even know what it is, but sure, I agree with that.
Oh, me. Anyway, we had the opportunity. You're still in session.
Correct.
And you're still doing the court jobs.
Correct.
How's that coming over there? Let's talk about that for a moment. Great news is out. We talked to Mayor Earl about it the other day, and that is that they're buying that building behind the police station, and that the police station's been pretty much using the parking lot forever, and they're buying it for Mr. and Mrs. Hughes.
Right.
And the word is that it's going to be the new municipal courthouse.
That's my understanding. We've been talking about it for a couple, 2 or 3 years now, and the biggest reason it's been discussed is security. You've been in city court. You know that we have pretty high volume on Monday nights, and more and more security is a concern in any courtroom. And
well, look at what's going on in the world today.
well, and that's that's part of it. And the courtroom that we're in now has never been very good as far as security goes. We do what we can with what we have, and that's what you do. But we've acknowledged that there's some concerns. More, space is always an issue in courts, but space is really not the primary concern. It's really security, and I think that's one thing that the mayor he agrees with that issue and that concern, and he's taken a step to sort of move us into something that can give us better security.
Well, I don't want to say it. I'll tell you off. But I can't believe how exposed you are. I mean, really.
And I'm not going to go into details about it, but you're
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I'm in awe, and when I go to that courtroom, I'm just like going,
Well, and my role is about as close to people as you can possibly have, and that's my job.
But it's not a good situation when you got people that you're throwing in jail.
Well, and sometimes that comes with the job. We try not to make that obviously the priority of the job, but
I don't know. They're calling you the hanging judge now over there.
No, it's like anything that I've ever been a part of. I believe in being consistent, and
oh, you are there. That jail's packed. Let's see, what was there, 205 or something in there?
I don't think you can blame all that on me, but
we'll read that tomorrow.
One thing that I've always been a believer in is you should give anybody a chance to make it. I mean, people make mistakes, and that's a given. In city court, it's not the end all be all courts. This is the lowest level of courts, and it's the closest to people, and that's one reason I enjoy the job. It's very close to people, and that's what I like about the job. But you shouldn't take it to the point of making it, too much of the penalty side. However, if you continue to violate laws, then at some point you have to say, well, punishment is a part of it. But I'll give you an example. We oftentimes will get young teens who either haven't got their license yet or are in the process, and they'll get some traffic violation which would set them back a long way. And we want to try to work with young people, teach them lessons, let them learn from the experience, not to punish. And frankly, very few times have we ever had them come back in front of us. It's very few times in the 4.5 years I've been doing this, and that's part of the job. That's the part that I enjoy the most, is trying to help kids learn a little lesson so they don't come back. They learn it early enough that they don't come back and you never see them in the system again.
Well, okay. What I see in that courtroom, and I don't want to keep going on this subject because I want to talk about the state stuff too while you're here, but I see a lot of the returning faces, and it always seems to be the same socioeconomic group.
Well, I'll tell you one.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do, and obviously on some of the people that come to court, I'm on a first name basis with them. Right. I see them fairly frequently, but that's gotten to be a fewer and fewer number. There was a group that we've been trying to work with for years that would have driving without a license tickets, and it's a vicious cycle. If you get one, your license is suspended again, and you never can get your license back. And so we've been trying to work a different way with the prosecutor. The prosecutor's been working with the court to try to encourage people who have those type of violations to get their licenses, and we try to work with them and try to promote them to get their licenses, and we've started seeing that being successful. And that's another approach that for me, it's not about trying to punish and give tickets. It's about, let's see if we can get you out of that track and get you out of that vicious cycle. And we've had several in the last 2 months that when they come to court, they brought their licenses and just been grinning from ear to ear because they haven't had a license in years. Right. And we finally worked it where we can help them get their license, and then that cycle ends, and they can move on and put more money into their families, and that's the point. And that's one thing that we've really worked hard on, and we're starting to see some success, and I'm sure we'll continue that.
You're not going to like what I'm going to say.
Oh, goodness, here it comes.
Okay. But some consider the municipal court as a cash cow.
I think in some cities, because we've all been through cities that have what we could perceive as speed traps, I think in some cities it probably lends itself to that reputation. I hope it doesn't here, because as you've seen when you come to court, we go to great lengths to work with people to pull them out of that kind of cycle and pull them out of that system, which would not make sense if we were trying to use it as a cash cow. And honestly, I don't keep up with those numbers. I never really have.
I was going to ask you if you could tell me how many $50 a month payments you got.
I couldn't tell you. I've never kept up with it. That's never been my priority. I've been more concerned about having fewer people in jail than I have been about dollars. I've never really looked at it. I'm sure there are those up somewhere around that do, but I've not been a part of that. Like I said, for me, it's not about repetition as far as putting people in jail or repetition as far as fining them or things of that nature. It's about trying to get them out of the system and giving them an incentive and a motivation and a reason to get out and the belief that they can get out. And that's one thing we had to fight through. A lot of people who had been without a license, for instance, didn't realize they could get out of that cycle. And so it took us trying to open their eyes and saying, listen, there's a way to get out of this, and we'd be glad to help you, because we'd rather you not keep coming back. And we're seeing that type of success, and we're going to try it with other things. But there are some issues that they happen. DUIs, they happen. Domestic violence, it happens. Things of that nature. Thefts, they happen. Those are things that I wish we could see fewer of, and I think we have been seeing fewer DUIs, frankly. But the thefts seem to be sort of staying up there. The domestic violence never seems to go up or down. It seems to stay pretty much a steady wave. And those are things I wish we could have more impact on, but so far we've not.
I'm just going to make this one statement, and you answer it after this, because, I've had Chief of Police on here.
Okay.
I've had the Sheriff on here.
All right.
All right. Now, they ain't going to sit in the same doghouse together. Okay, I mean, I don't know what it is, but they're not gonna. What's that word I keep using? I keep messing up because it sounds like terrorism. Jihad.
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't know.
Anyway, they don't mix sometimes, and every time you send somebody to jail, over there at the county jail,
mm-hmm.
the city is charged for those meals
mm-hmm.
that they're over there. And it's more than, according to some sources, than anybody else is. Is that not a concern when it's costing the taxpayers to send them over there?
Well, the city of Andalusia has been on a block contract since even when I was on the council, and I don't think it's changed. And by that I mean this, it's not, there's a certain number of inmates that come from the city that whether they're there or not, the city pays a certain rate. And so
you got to make sure we fill that block.
No, it's not that. It's just that it doesn't affect the cost. It doesn't affect it up or down. It's a set amount, and only when you get in excess of that amount does it start having some impact on a daily basis. And once again, I don't keep up with that part of it because I don't really get into the dollars and cents as much. I'm more about trying to keep people out.
So you're saying the city has a quota?
No, it's not a quota. It's just that the city pays when they contracted with the county. They contracted based on a presumed number, and whether they're there or not, that number is paid, and it's always been that way as long as I can remember. I was actually a part of one of those negotiations probably about 8 years ago
when you were on the council.
Right, when I was on the council.
There was a big beef back then.
Well, and back then, and I can't say now because I have not been a part of any recent negotiations, but back then the city of Andalusia was paying the largest amount within the county. And it was something back then that I was concerned about. Frankly, I've not had anything to do with that since those days, so I really couldn't tell you where it stands now.
Well, that's it.
Okay.
We're going to leave you alone on the city for now. Don't look at that clock. Don't worry about it. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about some of the state stuff, talking about the sheriff. All right. There's a lot of sheriffs not happy with y'all right now.
I think actually sheriffs are getting happier, and we'll talk about that some.
Yeah, because Senator Hawley and I talked about that the other day, and he'll be on tomorrow. But it's a concern. Mm-hmm. It is a concern, and we'll talk about that right after these messages. Keep it real. He had a tough time with that, Senator Hawley. He did. I felt sorry for him.
He probably doesn't come on here as much as I have. So.
Well, I'm going to make sure that happens, though, okay. Because he kind of got on me a little. No, he didn't. Keep God in it. We'll be back with more right after this. Good morning and welcome back to WKNI TV 25. We have a wonderful guest. We're proud to have him on every time. And if it wasn't for his assistant, his aide, Susan over there at the, I just dial up and say, it's lunchtime, darling. And she goes, okay, what day do you want them? And
I may have to talk with her about that. I didn't know.
I mean, it wasn't even pieces of gold, okay? It wasn't even pieces of silver. It's just, lunch at Ophelia's, and there you go. See?
Well, I will say she keeps me in line to make sure I'm at things at the appropriate time. So she probably knows more about my schedule than I do.
Yeah, there you go. She does.
Oh, I know she does. I depend on her greatly.
Yeah, I sat there. I said, "Where's Mike at today?" And he's over here doing this, and this, and he'll call and ask me where he's supposed to be in a minute, and I'll talk to him. And I'm like, "Really? Is it that bad?" Yeah, it is, and you admit that.
I depend on Sue very much.
She's a sweetheart.
She is,
and she does a lot with the Op Saddle Club.
She does.
And we want to plug that in there real quick because they're a great bunch of people over there. Over there at the law firm. How's the law firm coming along?
Doing well as far as I can tell. I actually came home Thursday night just in time to see my daughter in a dinner theater production that the high school put on.
Yeah.
And which was great.
I wanted to go through that, but so many things to go to this time.
And my daughter, she pulled one on me. She told me she had a 2 or 3 word speaking part. Turns out she had a much bigger part, and I couldn't help but just grin and laugh. She did a great job. But then the next morning, I was trying a case in Escambia County, and so I was over there bright and early and didn't get back till that evening, which is why I didn't attend the chamber music event.
You hear that, Dr. Rydell?
I was pretty tired. I think as of Friday afternoon, I'd had 12 hours sleep in 4 days, and I was almost at the end of where I could walk. So I had to take a break.
Well, again, I'll say it. The chamber music was absolutely wonderful. I heard just about everybody come out of there and say, "Well, I didn't hear no Willie Nelson."
I will tell you, my mother and father attended, obviously, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. Oh, yeah. We had lunch yesterday after church. My father's birthday was this past week, and we got together at my parents' house, and they talked about that.
Should I sing happy birthday to your dad?
We've taken care of all that, but they I was surprised. They enjoyed it and really spoke highly about it.
It was wonderful, and I can't wait for him to do it again. When you put a harp, a flute, and a violin together, you're right there next to heaven. I mean,
well, they told me about the harp, and my father he was obviously very. They must have given some sort of details on how to play it or something, because he was telling me about that.
He was up there trying to play it. They called him out and they said, "All right, you come up here and try this," and we got pictures.
Well, good. But they did. They enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. Your mom done wonderful on the violin.
My mother played clarinet when she was in high school, and
now you're ratting her out.
I'm ratting her now. But anyway, she and I both, we've always enjoyed music.
Back to Sirius.
Go ahead.
Okay.
We'll go to Sirius.
Let's go back to the sheriffs. They're not happy.
I think you're talking about Senate Bill 286. Right.
That is supposed to be. Well, you had a bill going in,
and it's still in the game. HB 8. HB 8 is, I'm gonna call one of them. HB 8 is what I would call the defense bill.
Okay.
And it's the protection bill that sort of sets the baseline that you can't go beyond this line. And I actually think that bill will be called up for passage on the House floor probably this week, probably towards the end of this week, and then it'll go to the Senate. And Senator Gerald Dial will take hold of it in the Senate, and we'll marshal it through on the Senate side. What I'm going to refer to as the more offense bill is Senate Bill 286. Senator Beeson on the Senate side was the sponsor of the Senate version. It's passed the Senate. There was a great deal of negotiations that have been going on behind the scenes between sheriffs, chiefs of police, business, the NRA. I mean, there's so many groups that have been a part of that negotiation, it's hard to keep them straight. But a version passed, and it came to the House, and the House sponsor is Representative Ed Henry. And Ed, coincidentally, is only 2 doors down in my hallway, and Ed and I are very close friends. And he's been working on that. There's going to be a substitute bill that's going to come through on the House side, which is the result of more negotiations. And that's why I say I think the sheriffs are now, it's my understanding, they're okay with the new substitute version, and that they're probably going to give thumbs up and say that they're going to be good with it. Because it does some things that make some good sense. It does have shall issue as far as the permits, concealed permits go. But it also allows the Sheriff's Office, for public safety reasons, to take the time to do background checks, which I don't think that's a bad thing. That makes some sense. That if they do make a denial, there would now be an appeal system that go to the district judge, which also to me makes good sense. That's your local judge. He's on the state level. He's the closest to the people, and so I think you're going to see some things of that nature in the substitute version. That it's my understanding that Senator Beeson is agreeable to as well. At least that's my understanding. And once that version comes up, and I don't know if it'll come up this week or the first of next week, but probably latter this week or first of next week.
Well, Mike, let me ask you this, because when you look across the country, other than what happened this past Monday in Boston, and it'll probably come out too that there's mental issues there. Mm-hmm. I mean, just tragedy all over the country, all over the world. But our tragedies seem to be coming from mental health issues and people that have mental health. Is there going to be anything to do with a gun permit that we can do a background check and also get if the person has mental health issues, make it a flag so that we know that this person has got a problem?
I think both nationally and state-wise, that's probably the issue that needs the most addressing. And the reason why it's more of a difficult issue is that naturally those type of issues tend to be more confidential because they involve a medical type treatment, psychological type treatment, and historically through HIPAA and other things that are in place and been in place now for a while, those type of records and those type of issues tend to be more protected by federal law. And so there's going to have to be some addressing on the federal side to be able to access more of that information. Also, states have to do a better job of accessing that information. And so I think you're going to see both federal and state working more on that issue, probably more than any other issue, trying to get it more in line where we can have the benefit of that knowledge of somebody who's got some issues going on.
I don't know. I think a family member knows. I think a neighbor knows. I think if it's somewhere that I hate to say, I guess that'd be almost communistic, or no? What would that be if a neighbor was required to turn in somebody?
I don't know, bad.
Bad?
I would say
something that he wouldn't agree with. But I mean, they would know that. And
that's one of the arguments that the sheriffs make when they talk about the may issue on a permit as opposed to a shall issue, and that generally a local county sheriff probably knows a great number of people in the area, or they know family members of people in the area, and so that information does tend to trickle to the sheriff. And
but does the sheriff look at each and every? See, now there's the law. Mm-hmm. Okay, the sheriff must approve physically each and every one of those permits, because I'll tell you what, you go up there and pay your $20, and it's
it's been a long time since I got my initial permit, but back when I did, it was not an instant permit provided to me.
You're right.
They did a background check. I don't know what else was done at that time, but and this has been a while for me. I've had one for quite a while, but I don't remember it being an instantaneous anything. I think there was a period of time that a check was done, and I can't say verbatim. And I don't think that the sheriff himself did the check. I'm sure he had personnel working for him to do it, but I do think that's part of the process. I do think that's a reasonable part of the process. Because there are some people that, I'm the biggest supporter of Second Amendment you'll ever find. You won't find much bigger supporter.
But due diligence on this.
But due diligence is a part of any responsibility, and I'm one of those people that believes in responsible possession of firearms. That you should have training. You should have the knowledge of the type of weapon that you're choosing to use. That the most dangerous person is someone who has a weapon and has no idea how it works. Mm. That is probably the most dangerous person you'll find. And typically they also don't know how to secure the weapons as far as their children and other things. So I'm big on training, and I've always been big on training and being responsible on that level. But at the same time, I do think that people should have the right to protect themselves and their family and their homes. You know me, I've always been a supporter of that. And so that's where you see this negotiation going on. It's a negotiation between having as much freedom as possible that's guaranteed by the Second Amendment, but also making sure that public safety is not violated, and so that we can have our children in safe environments, and that's the issue. That's the exact negotiation.
What do you think about the bingo situation with the Attorney General right now?
You and I talked about this off air. believe it or not, I haven't had as much time to watch the news as you would think. I do scan papers from time to time, especially when I come back. I'll have about 10 papers on my desk and I'll scan them. But I haven't kept up with it as tightly as probably most have. It's not an issue that's in front of the legislature this year, and right now I spend so many hours reading bills and preparing myself for the process that it just doesn't give me as much time as you would think about stuff that's going on outside of the legislature. And my wife even reminds me that sometimes. She has to remind me of things that I need to be a part of, with the children in the house. So I'm not as up on it. I obviously am aware of it. I do not know the specifics as to where Attorney General Strange is right now as far as the case. I think it's been moved to federal court.
It has.
But I think I just scanned that on a paper yesterday, and so that's probably as much as I know about it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think the Indians should have the right to have a casino?
The issue that, what little I'm aware of it, the issue is that the law that allows reservations or Indians to have gaming in any state is based on the gaming that's available in that particular state. And if any Class II gambling, for instance, is, and I think we've had this conversation before, is allowable anywhere in the state of Alabama, then they have, under federal law, they have the right to have that. I think the issue that Attorney General Strange is trying to bring up is whether or not we actually do have legal Class II gambling or not in the state of Alabama. And if we don't, then he's taking it to the next step as to whether or not, if we don't have it, then whether or not the Indians should have it on their reservations.
Is dog racing Class II?
I think it falls in that same category: horse racing, dog racing. I think
so. They'd have to get rid of the dog racing too.
And I agree with that. That would be a part of it.
Interesting. All right. Well, let's run through some things here that we know that you're working diligently on up there at the house, and tell us some of the stuff. Wait, before we go there.
I just noticed you pulled up the LBW Ensemble on your screen.
Yes, I did. In fact, they're having on the 26th, they're having their family and friends night. Yeah, I hope you're there.
Well, and I'll tell you, we had those when I was in the ensemble as well. They're great nights because the performers and the kids get to really let their hair down and have a lot more freedom and fun.
We're going.
Well, and usually it's a great performance because they can kind of be more open about their performance.
And John Brewer's over there going.
And usually you'll see they're excited. It's fun to perform in front of your family and your friends because you've got their support. When you go into a new crowd and you really don't know how they're going to respond to you, it's a little bit more tense to begin with. But when you've got that kind of support, those are usually great performances. So that would be a great performance to attend. Well,
hopefully you can make it with your wife and children, because we went to one year and it was just absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And we had John Brewer on the other day and talking about the ensemble.
See, Jerry Pageant was my the person who supervised us and was over our group, and Jerry, we called him JP back then. Great teacher, great. He allowed the freedom to really expand our music, and I was okay when I started. He really allowed me to kind of take it to another level, so I enjoyed it.
Well, Mike, let's go ahead and get back to some of this other stuff happening at the state too. The ensemble is a wonderful thing, and I strongly urge. It's going to be 7 p.m. on April 26th in the Dixon Theater at LBW. If you can come on out. It's going to be free. And if you need any information on that, 222-6591. And we appreciated Johnny Brewer coming on the other day, and he's a nice guy.
He is. He is. And my understanding is he does a great job with the ensemble.
That's what I've seen him doing it, and he can play.
Good.
He can play trumpet now.
Oh, I've heard him play trumpet. He's phenomenal.
Man, he can really, he made that thing jump, talk, and do all sorts of things. Anyway, let's get back to the state stuff.
Go ahead.
All right, we've got a real serious issue with the elderly people in this state.
Okay.
All right, there are constituents out here that remember your campaign that you were going to be, right there with the senior citizens. Okay, none of this stuff was going to happen. Well, then comes federal government. Okay, Obamacare. All right.
I'm still reading that. That thing's a hard read, by the way.
Well, the thing is that's going to affect the elderly in this state if we allow it to. It's going to affect the Medicaid. It's obviously going to affect Medicare. And we can't put any more stress. I know in this town, Mike, and you probably do too, that there are elderly folks in here that have to make a decision. I'm paying a light bill and feeding themselves. What are we going to do to help them on the state level?
Well, and I can say this, I'm not on the committees that have been dealing with those issues as far as Medicaid goes. I know that they've been spending countless hours on it. I know that members of that committee have been traveling the state, meeting with professionals of all levels, whether it be assisted living, nursing home, hospitals, private care, all levels. And I don't know if this issue, I don't know if it can be addressed in a regular session, frankly, because it's such a huge issue in and of itself. And so I know that it's being worked on during this session. I've been hearing it from the sidelines. Because I'm not on those committees, I'm not as in tune with those yet. They've not come before us. And as you and I have talked, when the bills clear committee and they get in front of us, then I'm very prepared and very well briefed on them. It's hard to do that when they've not even cleared committees yet, and some of these issues have not cleared committees yet. So, I hope that we can address these during the regular session. My suspicion is this issue is so huge and so important that it's going to need more time devoted to it than what a regular session can allow. And so it may very well require us to come back at some point in a special just to focus our entire energy and time on that one issue. And that's probably not a bad idea because it is such a big issue. It is so important to so many people.
Well, it's a scary situation coming up.
It is. It's not just for elderly.
It's for those
there are many different.
It affects me. It affects
it affects so many people. And so I don't want anybody to think it's just going to affect, because it's not. Frankly, it'll affect me on some levels and my family on some levels, and most families in our community. I've had recently people ask me to review their insurance documents and things because of notices about things going up and so forth. And I've had other people ask me to review some of the Medicaid language that's been coming through the mail because it's confusing, and it is. I mean, even for somebody who's trained in law like me, when I start reading some of those documents, it's confusing. And I've been reading the Obamacare 5-volume federal law, and I thought I could read it in a week, and I tried to read it during the break. Anybody who tries to read that, is a challenge. From one section to the next, it does not make sense. It doesn't link up very well. I'm accustomed to reading laws or bills that there's some correlation between each section to the next. If you read through that, and I've read through probably a volume and a half now of a 5-volume law, it's a very difficult read because it really doesn't connect very well. And there are times I've gone back and reread one section 5 or 6 times because I still don't understand it. It just doesn't make good sense. It looks as if about 150 people wrote pieces and nobody talked to each other when they put it all together. And so it's like a puzzle that they slammed together that's from 6 different puzzles. It doesn't make a picture. It doesn't link up. And that's kind of how it reads. If it came to the state, I would have voted against it just on the how it was drafted. It's a horrible draft, but we're having to deal with it. It's the law.
It's my fault.
You've got a ringtone that really stands out.
It does. Well, let's go ahead and talk about what's happening in the state right now and some of the things that you're directly working on.
Well, tomorrow we'll start working on the general fund on the House side. And as of Thursday, I received my 3rd version of the general fund proposed budget. I thought that I had read through the first 2, thinking those were going to be the last drafts. We were given another draft as we left Thursday. I've had a little time to spend on it, but the key when you're looking at these general fund or any budget is you pretty much have to do an apple-to-apple comparison to figure out where the changes really are. And so you have to start from scratch every time. And unfortunately, that's what I'm having to do again, to start from scratch. I've already gone through part of it. I'll go through some more of it today. I also tend to make copies and give it out to people in the community to help me kind of look at it from their perspectives as well. I do feel like what I've read so far on the judicial side, that's a concern. Some of the original versions of the general fund had a $28 million reduction in funding for the judicial branch of government. And I don't think that the judicial branch can handle any more decrease in funding. And you and I both have seen what's been occurring. Courts are working half days. And one of the things that people sometimes forget, and even members of the House and Senate sometimes forget, is that if a courthouse is open 5 days a week, and they bring in so much revenue. If you take away a day or 2 days, then you're taking away a fifth or 2/5 of the revenue stream as much as you are the cost that's incurred. And the question is, does that make sense? Is that cost effective? I would argue that it's not. That doesn't make a lot of sense because not only are you reducing costs a little, you're going to reduce your revenue stream greatly. And that's one thing that I feel like we're going to still be working on even through the late hours tomorrow night, is how to adjust and fix some of that. I've received a large number of texts and emails from people in the judicial system, not just from here in Covington County and the surrounding counties, but from all over the state. There's clearly concern. I know our Chief Justice is concerned. He's expressed it. And so that's something that I am focusing some of my attention on. I'm not on those committees, but that's an issue I know more about. And so I think I can give more productive time on that issue. The parks are something that I have been paying particular attention to because we have 2 state parks in our area.
Let me ask you a quick question
Sure.
On the judicial thing.
Sure.
Because I talked to Amy Jones, our circuit
Clerk.
clerk. Yeah. I get them confused. It's okay. They know it. It's all right. It's Eddie. But anyway, our circuit clerk. And she was telling me that one of the reasons they're shutting down is so her people can concentrate on transferring everything over into the database
Right.
and entering data. Now, how can we save money there if we don't? We're 20 years behind, okay, on technology in the court system. Do you agree with me there?
Well, we're definitely behind compared to other states as far as putting our data into an electronic system. And one of the things that happens when you do that is that we're not, we're finding glitches and problems because we're pretty new at doing this
Right.
that affect the judicial system as a whole. So, for instance, when a law firm puts in a pleading, a piece of, a document, if there's not a template in the computer, in the judicial system for that document, then it doesn't know how to receive it. It won't receive it. And so you end up having to almost kind of lie to the system to put it in a category that the system will accept it. And unfortunately, mistakes happen because of that. And those are glitches that you have to kind of hit as you go. Those glitches take time to find. Those glitches take time to fix, and they take money to fix. And that is something that's impacting and it's slowing the process down. But it's part of the process. You're not going to know them until you see them.
All right. So now you're going back to the parks real quick.
Parks are something that this fiscal cycle, I feel very comfortable that they're protected.
Have you been to Florella?
I have, not in the last month.
The park, but the walkway and all through there?
Oh, yeah.
Teresa and I went through there for the first time yesterday, and I got pictures I can't wait to show. Folks, we have a gem in this county. Mm-hmm. We really do. That was absolutely beautiful.
And that's one thing that we're looking at the parks as individual parks as well as protect them as a whole. There are some parks in our state system that are losing $1.5 million per year. Now those are not our parks, obviously, but there are some. Most of these state parks were never designed to make money to begin with. They were designed to offer our citizens a place to go and a retreat to go that wouldn't cost any or very little money, that we could take our families and have some enjoyment, have some time to kind of get away for very low cost or no cost. Our parks are very much like that. Florella, other than paying for your camping site, there's really no cost. You just go and you have the enjoyment of it. Over in at Lake Frank Jackson, there's I think a $2 entry, very nominal entry to go fish or play at the park, or they have a wonderful walking trail system if you've never been to it.
They've got RVs parked.
Correct, and they generally stay around 60 to 80% occupancy in their camping area, which is wonderful year round. I mean, they really have a high number. And so we have some great parks that are being used at a high rate. And so it's important to our communities and to me personally that we keep those parks open and keep them available. And we're not just looking at traditional ways, we're also looking at other options to making sure those parks live on and stay open in the future. This year, I'm very comfortable that we're going to have them protected. My goal, though, is to stop having this year-to-year confrontation on the parks. My goal is to try to come up with a method that we don't have to worry about the parks anymore. There have been many meetings and discussions with conservation, with members of the governor's staff, with members of leadership in the legislature on that issue, and with local leaders that we've been working with. And so we're going to continue working that in the off season to see if we can get that in place.
Well, Mike, I know you're pressed for time, and we're going to just give you a few minutes here to talk about whatever you need to talk about or want to get out there to the folks that's happening in the state.
Well, I've been working on a number of bills for our area, and some of them are bills, for instance, that are very focused, like the LBW bill, it's HB4, and it's in the Senate. It's ready for passage. And this is to allow, they're constructing dorms on campus. The College Foundation, which has been giving scholarships for years to kids in this area, has bought some land. They're actually funding and building the dorms, but they're not tax exempt. And it's because they've never been anything but a scholarship foundation, and now they're possessing and building a property. And so and most colleges already have this in place. In fact, virtually all the two-year colleges statewide already have this provision in place. Ours never had the reason to do it because they've never owned property. So now that we're doing that, that's ready for passage. It's come through the House very easily. It's in the Senate now. It's already cleared committee. So I expect Senator Hawley will help us get that through pretty quick. We've worked on some family law issues, foster care. Right now, an average child is in foster care from beginning to end about 38 to 40 months. And so a child can literally go from being a child to being almost grown before they even get out of the system, have a chance of getting out of the system. We've been working with DHR. We've been working with the Juvenile Court Association, the District Court Association, about trying to find ways to tighten that down. And we have, and we've got a bill that's I believe it's going to be on the special order calendar on Wednesday in the House, and I do expect it to pass in the Senate as well. In fact, it's already passed the Senate. We may be able to get it to the governor by Wednesday or Thursday if things go well.
This will help with the children with fosters.
Correct. It'll help these kids get out of the system quicker, get them into families quicker, and create stability for these children much faster. And that's the goal. It's never the goal to keep them in foster care. It's the goal to get them in
Some of the kids have been in foster care all the way up until their adulthood.
Sure. And we've had some extreme situations where kids have been in the system for 7 years. And those are things that we just can't allow. And I think we're either 42 or 46 as far as of states in our country as far as how long it takes us to get them out of the system. So we're going to try to get our numbers. We're going to try to tighten that up a great deal. I'm doing some bills that are helping different things. And one bill I'm going to talk about briefly is the e-cigarette bill. And this is something that it's almost one of those things you don't want to publicize too much because I don't want the kids to know too much. Maybe they're at school right now, but right now, an e-cigarette, many of them, and most of them, I think, are set up where they place nicotine in your system, and it's a smokeless cigarette. There's no smoke. It's a vapor that comes out of the cigarette. It's an electronic type of cigarette, and the intent, I think, is to help people kind of come off cigarettes. Right. But it still puts this chemical to help them come off nicotine into the system. Right now, because our laws to protect kids are set up for tobacco products, and this is a non-tobacco product, technically it's perfectly legal for a child to buy these right now in our stores because there's no restriction. And so we've got
because of the nicotine.
Because there's no tobacco.
Exactly.
And so the prohibitions.
But it's still getting the same substance out of the cigarettes.
Correct. And so we've got this in place. This actually came from the tobacco industry. They recognized the flaw. They didn't want to be seen as someone who's promoting it to children in any way. And so they actually, the industry approached and said, listen, we want to get this fixed quick. Can you help us with that? And my position was, of course, that makes perfect sense. And so
I wonder how that works with secondhand E.
I have a question.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, you're in trouble now. Carlton, speak it up.
Does the tobacco industry promote, and are they a part of this e-cigarette stuff? Because it's my understanding they are not, and they actually oppose it.
No, both the tobacco industry and the manufacturers of the e-cigarettes, which are not all tobacco industry members, both are supporting it. In fact, we've had no problem with that at all. And that's one of the things I've been able to tell the members when I brought this bill before the House, is that they want this to come through. There's a need for it to come through.
Well, I agree with myself. I didn't know that the tobacco. I thought you were suggesting that the tobacco industry had something to do with e-cigarettes.
I think there's no question the tobacco industry has gotten into the e-cigarette business. However, I don't think it actually started with the tobacco industry. I think it started with some entrepreneurs, one of which is from Mobile, Alabama, that got into it. And then I think tobacco has actually bought into some of those businesses. But once again, especially given the history in tobacco and with our country, they are not wanting to be seen as promoting it to children in any way.
Right.
And so it's
That
a
makes
flaw.
sense.
It's a flaw in our system. It's one of those things where when we address those laws, we didn't predict the future, and now that the future's on us, we need to address it.
Well, I just have one thing to say. You need to research and find out about secondhand smoke from the e-cigarettes as well. Because if it's still putting in the same stuff,
It's not. It's a water vapor. There's no smoke, actual smoke whatsoever. It's simply a water vapor.
but
That's
what
all.
if I inhale the water vapor?
My understanding is there's no second.
carcinogens
There's
in
no
the e-cigarette.
carcinogens of any kind.
I'm just checking, okay?
Yeah.
It's okay.
And that's
man.
actually one of the reasons why it's being promoted.
You know why he's sensitive.
I take it he smokes one.
He does. He does. I'm proud of him, though. He's cut down from 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes and down to that e-cigarette. And you need to get out of here. Hold on. We got to get Mike out of here because he was respectful and showed up on time for us, and we want to make sure we share that same respect. And I apologize. I want you to talk all about that.
Well,
you've got a choice. You can either go ahead and talk more, or you can go to your appointment.
I tell you what, I'll leave it there because we'll talk again. I feel certain.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And hopefully after the session we can do sort of a wrap up, and we can talk about some of these that hopefully will have passed.
Absolutely, and hopefully between now and then I'll be up there visiting you, and I'm also going to try to get in with the governor.
Sounds good.
Working on that.
I've got 5 pages from this county coming up this week, and so it should be an exciting week for pages.
I should come up.
They're going to be there while the general fund's being debated, so they'll get to see quite a bit.
Wow, I should come on up there then. I'll talk to you later on. But Mike, thanks for coming on. I'm sorry we kept you so late. I apologize to your next appointment, and we certainly appreciate you coming on, and look forward to talking to you soon. Remember, folks, he's up there for you. If you have any questions, he doesn't hide from the telephone, he doesn't hide from the text messages, and he certainly doesn't hide from the emails. You can contact him, and if you can't get a hold of him, just ask Sue. She'll get it.
She will.
She'll get him. But thanks a lot, Mike.
Thank you.
God bless you, and take care of Mom and Dad and the babies and the wife.
Thank you.
You know what Senator Hawley does? He comes home every night.
He does.
Yeah, he has a hamburger with his wife every night.
He drives more than I think I could.
Just letting you know. Anyway, thanks a lot, folks. God bless you. Tune in tomorrow morning. We're going to have as our guest Senator Jimmy Hawley right here on WKNI TV 25. God bless you. We'll see you then.